Namaste. Assessment for learning. Assessment of meaning of assessment. In education, the term assessment refers to the wide variety of methods and the educators use to evaluate, measure, and document the academic readiness and learning progress and skill acquisition of the students. It, of skill acquisition of students. It is the process of systematically gathering information as a part of an evaluation. Assessment is carried out to see what children and young people know, understand, and are able to do. Assessment is very important for tracking progress, planning to the next 10 steps, reporting and involving parents, children, and young people in learning. Meaning of measurement. Measurement is actually the process of estimating the value, that is the physical quantities like time, temperature, weight, length. It is the measurement is the assignment of a number to a characteristics of an object or event which can be compared with the other objects or events. Meaning of appraisal, an assessment or estimation of the worth, value, or quality of a person or thing is called appraisal. Meaning of evaluation. Evaluation is the broader term that refers to all the methods used to find out what happens as a result of using a specific intervention practice. Evaluation is the systematic assessment of worth or merit of some object. It is the systematic acquisition or assessment of information to provide useful feedback about some object. Interrelation among your assessment, evaluation, and measurement. Assessment is defined as gathering information or evidence, and evaluation is the use of that information evidence to make judgments. Measurement involves in assigning numbers or scores to an attribute or characteristics of a person in such a way that the numbers describe the degree to which the person possesses the attribute. Assigning grade value equivalents to scores on a standardized achievement test is an example of measurement. Purposes of assessment. The primary purpose of assessment is to improve students' learning and teachers' teaching. Students and teachers can use the information gained from assessment to determine their next teaching and learning steps. Parents and families can be kept informed of the next plans for teaching and learning and the progress being made so they can play an active role in their children's learning. School leaders can use the information for school-wide planning to support their teachers and define professional development needs. Communities and boards of trustees can use assessment information to assist their governance role and their decision about staffing and resourcing. The Education Review Office can use assessment information to inform their advice for school improvement. The Ministry of Education can use assessment information to undertake policy review and development at national level. International principles of assessment. The major principles of assessment are reliability, validity, relevance, transferability. Characteristics of a classroom assessment. The different characteristics of classroom assessment are: it is learner centered, it is a teacher directed, individual teachers decide how to assess, and how to respond to the information gathered through the assessment. It is mutually beneficial. Students are active participants. Teachers provide their teaching skills and gain new insights. It is a context specific. It is ongoing. Classroom assessment is a continuous process. It is rooted in good teaching practice. The classroom assessment builds on good practices by making feedbacks on students' learning more systematic, more flexible, and more effective. Classification of assessment. A prognostic assessment. A prognostic assessment expands the findings of an assessment with analysis of abilities and potentials with further dimensions, the future development of the concerned person as well as the necessary condition, time frame and limits. Typically, the prognostic assessment is accompanied as an individual one-day assessment. Diagnostic assessment can help the teacher to identify your students' current knowledge of a subject, their skill sets and capabilities, and to clarify misconceptions before teaching takes place. Knowing students' strengths and weaknesses can help the teacher to better plan what to teach and how to teach it. Types of diagnostic assessments: pre-test self-assessments, discussion board board responses, interviews. Formative assessment provides feedback and information during the instructional process while learning is taking place. While learning is occurring, the primary focus of formative assessment is to identify areas that may need improvement. Types of informative assessment: observations of homework, exercises, reflections, journals, questions and answer sessions, conferences, in classroom activities, student feedback. Summative assessment takes place after learning has been completed and provides information and feedback that sums up the teaching and learning process. Types of summative assessment: examinations, final examination, term papers, projects, portfolios, performances, student evaluation of the course, instructor self-evaluation. Evaluation is a series of activities that are designed to measure the effectiveness of teaching learning as a whole process. The assessment of systematic plan and quality learning. It helps the teacher to make better judgments in various aspects. Major types of assessment for learning. There are two types of assessment: formative assessment, summative assessment. Assessment it should be conducted continuously through the course. It is used to improve for instruction and learning and to keep both students and teachers aware of the course objectives and the students' progress in achieving those objectives. The primary purpose of the formative assessment is to improve learning, not merely to audit it. It is an assessment for learning rather than assessment of learning. This is done during the instructional process. Assessment should aim at the objectives of instructional process. It must modify the process if needed before the completion. Merits of formative assessment: this aims at continuous feedback from both teachers and students. Feedback provides specific learning errors. A formative assessment also provides reinforcement to students. This leads to getting information to teachers whether any modification is necessary or not. Demerits of conducting formative assessment: lacks of experienced, honest, and sincere teachers take more time to understand several activities. It is sometimes misused by teachers. There may be weaker students for remedial work. Some methods of formative assessment: project is the modern method in which the students' creativity in designing the content of studies. According to W.S. Kilpatrick, a project is a wholehearted, purposeful activity proceeding in a social environment. Types of project: individual social projects, group projects, simple and complex projects. Types of a project method: creating a situation, selection of the problem, planning, execution, evaluation, reporting, and recording. Assignments are used as a learning devices and tools for evaluation. There is no doubt that the assessment is carefully planned and regularly valued by the teachers to improve the students' attainment. The assignment is one of the most important phases of teaching. Purpose of assignments: to provide opportunities for students to work and practice independently, to develop self-reliance and initiative, to develop habits of reading regularly among the students, to provide opportunities for students to utilize leisure time profitably, to provide remedial measures for backward students. Kinds of assignments: page by page assignment, chapter assignment, problem assignment, topical assignment, project assignment, problem assignment, contrary assignment, unit assignment, cooperative or group assignment, syllabus assignment, trailer assignment. Assessment. Summative assessment essay is given to students after he or she has passed all the formative assessments. The effectiveness of teaching and instruction is evaluated on the basis of the student's performance. Summative assessment comes at the end of the course. It is run at the end of the instruction to measure at what extent the students have gained, what extent have students have gained attained their achievement. Summative assessment involves the final tests or annual examinations that declare a student's promotion to the next higher class or detention. In the simple as characteristics of summative assessment: it is a descriptive analysis and it focuses mainly on analysis. It tends to stress the effects. It also provides the appropriateness of the course and effect of instruction. Difference between formative and summative assessment: formative assessment is the assessment made during the instructional phase about progress in the learning, but summative assessment is the terminal assessment of performance at the end of instruction. Formative assessment of the pursuits of individual Assessment of the scores of individual patterns of fail, pass, fail, whereas in summative assessment report is given in terms of total scores. Formative assessment content focus is detailed and is narrow, and in summative assessment content is general and broad. The informative assessment given is given process is given in daily assignments in the observation methods, but in the summative assessment process in sub projects and tests methods of summative assessment tests. The test is to measure the ability, knowledge, or performance developed during the course of learning. Two types of tests are given to assess the knowledge of students. Teacher may test standardized tests. Types of tests: selected response assessment, objective type to mitigate some of the evils of the essay type examination objectives. Test seems to be very useful. Modern educationists lay much stress on this type of tests to supplement the traditional type of tests. Types of your objective tests: true, false, alternative response type, multiple choice, matching type, completion type tests. Advantages of objective type tests: a large amount of study material can be tested in a very short period of time. Time saving to objectivity of scoring. It can be, if carefully planned, it can measure the higher mental process of understanding, application, analysis, prediction, and interpretation. Limitation of objective type tests: default in preparing good items, problem of guessing, problem of cheating, inefficiency testing, complicated skills, high printing cost. Matching type tests. The matching type test consists of two columns, one column for stems or columns to be answered and another column for response from which the answer are to be chosen. Short answer type question requiring three value points is the most may be defined as a short answer question. It helps in ensuring wide coverage of content as a type tests. It is a free response test. It helps in ensuring wide coverage of the content and a variety of objectives. It helps in evaluating complex skills. Advantages is a type tests. Easy to prepare, useful in measuring certain abilities and skills. Permit the examining to write down comprehensively what he knows about something. Promote originality and creative thinking. The possibility of the guesswork can be eliminated and reduce chance on the spot copying. Limitations of essay type items: minimum validity, lack of reliability, no objectivity, rote memory is encouraged. It is a time consuming test item. Observation helps the observer to observe the activities of students, class behavior, and hence ascertains the emotional development, mental and development, and maturity. Etc. During the observation, care should be taken by the person who is observing is unaware that he is being observed. Thus, the observation should be out of the knowledge of a person. Steps of observation: planning, execution, recording, and interpretation. Checklist: it is one of the more specific instructions for evaluation. The checklist is in the form of a questionnaire. These answers to the question are given. A checklist can be used for self-evaluation or for others' evaluations. It exists if the student has any particular characteristics or not, and thus helps in evaluation of the student rating scale. It can be used to evaluate personality traits, creative skills, individual social adjustments, etc. Types of rating scales: numerical scales, graphical scale, standardized scales. Checklist: first choice scale, ranking method, cube short method, interview. The, the interview is a purposeful conversation. John Darrell. Interview means communication or conversation between two persons initiated by the interviewer for collecting the information about the search, keeping in mind the objectives of the interview. Here, the information is collected directly by verbal communication between two or more persons, and the responses of the respondents are noted. Characteristics of interview: it is a social interaction. It involves various direct involvements of interviewer and respondent. It involves various forms of questions to be asked to the respondent. It is a proportional serious conversation. It involves the establishment of intimacy between the interviewer and the respondent. It is a process of communication or interaction. It involves the note of response delivered by the respondent. It involves the face-to-face involvement of the respondent and interview. It can be conducted one or more times. It is a tool to collect useful information in many research situations. It can be in person or in a group. It exhibits the response or excitement by the respondent. It is a behavioral method. It indicates social, intellectual, and educational homogeneity. It indicates social, intellectual, and educational homogeneity. It may be formal, informal, directional, or non-directional interview. The types of interview: diagnostic interview, remedial interview, structured interview or control interview, unstructured interview, individual and group interview, directional interview, non-directional interview, focused interview, in-depth interview, steps of interview, preparation for interview, objectives of the interview, prepare an interview, register execution of interview, establishing the effort, seeking the information, note taking analysis of the collected information, assessment of objectives. The word assessment came into use in an educational context after the Second World War. The final purpose of assessment practices in education depends on the theoretical framework of the practitioners and researchers, their assumptions and beliefs about the nature of the human mind, the origin of knowledge, and the process of learning. Some more types of assessment: oral test. The oral exam, also oral test or viva voice, is a practice in many schools and disciplines in which an examiner poses the questions to the students in spoken form. Written test assessment, either summative or formative, is often categorized as either objective or subjective. Objective assessment is a form of questioning which has a single correct answer. Subjective assessment is a form of questioning which may have more than one correct answer or more than one way of expressing the correct answer. Informal and formal assessment. Formal assessment usually implies a written document such as test, quiz, or paper. Informal assessment usually occurs in a more casual manner and may include observation inventories, checklists, rating scales, rubrics, performance portfolio assessments, participation, peer and self-evaluation and discussion. Open book and take home exams. Open book exams allow you to take notes, texts or resource materials into any exam situation. They test your ability to find and apply information and knowledge, so are often used in subject of requiring direct reference to the written materials like law, statutes, statics, or acts of parliament. Achievement test, a test designed to assess the achievement in any subject with regard to a set of predetermined objectives is known as the achievement test. The major steps involved in the construction of the achievement tests. The achievement test are planning of test, preparation of a design for the test, preparation of the blueprint, printed, writing of items, preparation of the scoring key and marking scheme, preparation of question wise analysis, new trends and assessment for learning and evaluation, new existing practices, class/unit tests, half yearly and annual examination, board examination, entrance test, question bank. Question bank is a collection or reservoir of questions for timely use, but the haphazard collection of questions will not make a question bank. The questions in a question bank must be reliable and valid and should be suitable for testing different threats and the candidates. Therefore, each question in a question bank is scrutinized on the basis of its quality and relevance. It is included in the bank only after assigning technical values to the enable the users to use them to them according to their requirements. Grading system. Grading is a process of classifying students based on their performance and into groups with the help of a predetermined standards expressed in a symbolic form, that is letters of the English alphabet. These grades and corresponding symbols are predetermined and well defined, and the stakeholders could understand them uniformly and consistently while developing the grading system. It is of utmost important significance that the meaning of each grading symbol is clearly spelled out by its grading system. It helps in categorizing the students as per their attainments of instructional objectives. Also, it creates favorable conditions for the classification of students' performance on a more or convincing and justifiable scale. Grading is a far more satisfactory method than numerical marking system. the justification for the superiority of the grading system over the marking system is that it signifies individual learners' performance in form of in form of a certain level of achievement in relation to the whole group. Psychological tests. A psychological test is an objective and standardized measure of a sample of behavior. Types of psychological tests: IQ/achievement tests, attitude tests, neuropsychological tests, personality tests, objective tests, rating scale or self-report measure, projective tests, free response measure, direct observation tests, interest tests, aptitude tests, movement trends within assessment and evaluation. Expansion of educational evaluation in school systems, greater variety of evaluation assessment activities, the rise of educational measurement or indicators of development, larger and more varied uses are given to evaluation and assessment results for accountability as a purpose of evaluation and assessment or gaining in importance, greater relevance on educational standards. Assessment is becoming more international, greater technological sophistication. Online examination is also called an online assessment. The online assessment is the process used to measure certain aspects of information for a set purpose, where the assessment is delivered by a computer connected to a network. Information gathering, qualitative and quantitative research. Quantitative research is perhaps a simple to define and identify. The data produced is always numerical and they are analyzed using mathematical and statistical methods. Sources of quantitative data: survey, observations, secondary data. Qualitative research is any which does not include number or numerical data. It often involves words, language, but also may also use pictures or photographs and observations. These include interviews, focus groups, postcards, candidate observations. Thank you.